Hey guys, this is going to be dividing polynomials, which goes with section 3.3 in your book. So the first way is long division. We don't aim for this route, but sometimes you just have to use long division. So we're going to set it up. X plus 9 goes into x squared plus 14x plus 45. So the way I look at it is I only look at this first part. X times what gets me x squared? X times x gets me x squared. Good. So to find this, you're going to say x times what gets me x squared. All right, we said it was x. Now we're going to go ahead and distribute that. X times x gets me x squared. And x times 9 gets me 9x. Good. So we distributed it. Now we're going to subtract and see what we're left with. So x squared minus x squared leaves me with nothing. 14x minus 9x leaves me with 5x. Drop down what you're left with. So we have a plus 45 on the end. And then you get to do it all again. X times what gets me 5x? X times positive 5. X times 5 gets me 5x. All right, so find that number. Go ahead and distribute it. 5 times x gets me 5x. 5 times 9 gets me 45. And again, you're going to subtract and see what you're left with. 5x minus 5x leaves me with nothing. 45 minus 45 leaves me with nothing. So we have no remainder. So there's your answer, right? This divided by x plus 9 is x plus 5. And if you wanted to check yourself, remember the opposite of division is multiplication. If you multiply, you should get that. X plus 5 times x plus 9 is what you divided. Okay, so there's your answer. All right, let's do it again. So this one had no remainder. There was nothing left over. Now we're going to experience one with a little remainder going on here. So x minus 3. Notice this is not in standard form, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in standard form as I'm going. So 2x cubed is going to come first, then a minus 3x squared, then a minus 11x, and a positive 7. That is a 7. I don't know what just happened. All right, so x times what gets me 2x cubed? X times 2x squared gets me 2x cubed. We're going to go ahead and distribute. 2x squared times x gets me 2x cubed. 2x squared times negative 3 gets me negative 6x squared. And again, we subtract that whole row. Oops. No, go back. Sorry. We subtract that whole row. So we got this minus this goes away. Should always happen. Negative 3 minus negative becomes plus 6. So negative 3 plus 6 leaves me with 3x squared. And I'm going to bring down all my other stuff because I don't want to forget about it. And do it again. X times what gets me 3x squared? So it's a positive 3x. Distribute. 3x times x gets me 3x squared. Again, those should always match up so they cancel for you. 3x times negative 3 is negative 9x. And remember, you're subtracting that whole row. So those cancel out. Negative 11 minus negative becomes plus 9. Negative 11 plus 9 leaves me with negative 2x. Drop down that 7. And we get to do it one more time. X times what gets me negative 2x? Negative 2. Distribute. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. Oops. And we're going to subtract that whole row. So this one's not as nice. Everything didn't cancel out. Those first ones cancel out. 7 minus 6 leaves me with a remainder of 1. Okay, the reason you know what your remainder is x times what gets me 1. Not going to work. That's my remainder. So when you write your final answer out, we have 2x squared plus 3x minus 2. And our remainder is 1, so it's a positive. We're going to put plus 1 over, and it was whatever you divided by, in this case, x minus 3. So So that's how you write your remainder. And that one is done. Moving on. One more long division. So we've got x squared minus 2x. Now if you notice here, we have a fourth, a third, but there's no squared. I would go ahead and put a placeholder when you're writing this out. So we have 2x to the fourth, we have a 3x cubed, and we have 0 x squareds, because it'll just kind of save your place. Okay, it's just a little place saver, so that way when stuff lines up, or when you're doing the multiplication, all your stuff lines up. And then minus a 7x and minus a 10. So we just have that little placeholder in there telling us we have no x squareds. All right, x squared times what gets me x to the fourth, or sorry, 2x to the fourth. So x squared times 2x squared gets me 2x to the fourth. Distribute 2x squared times x squared gets me 2x to the fourth. That's why you did it. 2x squared times negative 2x gets me negative 4x cubed, and we subtract. Again, remember minus negative becomes plus. So 3 minus negative becomes 3 plus 4. So we get 7x cubes. And we're going to drop down all that other stuff and our placeholder. And we get to do it again. X squared times what gets me 7x cubed? X squared times positive 7x. 7x times x squared gets me 7x cubed. 7x times negative 2x gets me negative 14x squared. Do you see why I put that placeholder in there? And we're going to subtract this whole row. Minus negative becomes 0 plus 14. And drop it all down again. And repeat. X squared times what gets me 14x squared. So that's a positive 14. Distribute 14 times x squared. 14x squared. 14 times negative 2x is negative 28x. And we're going to subtract that whole row. So again, minus negative becomes plus. Minus negative becomes plus. So we've got negative 7 plus 28 gets me 21x. Drop it down, minus 10. X squared times what gets me 21x, and that's where we know we're at a stopping point. So our remainder looks a little different. All right, our remainder looks a little different, but it is still a remainder. So our final answer, we have 2x squared plus 7x plus 14 plus 21x minus 10 over that x squared minus 2x. X squared minus 2x. And we're done. So long division takes some time, takes some patience, but not too bad. It's just a process. You have to follow the same steps over and over again until you finish. Synthetic division actually saves you some time. So synthetic division, they call this right here x minus c. So c is the number that you're supposedly dividing by. In this case, for our synthetic division, it'd be a negative 2, because minus negative will become plus 2. So we're actually going to use a negative 2. And that's one part of synthetic division that you have to remember. Whatever you're dividing by, see how it's positive 2? We actually want to use a negative 2 in our synthetic division. And then synthetic division only takes the coefficients. So the coefficient of my x cubed term is a 1. The coefficient of my x squared term, right, we don't have one, so we're still going to have to use that placeholder of 0 x squareds. My x term is a negative 7, and my constant is a negative 6. So here's where it takes you a little bit less time. Synthetic division, you do the same thing over and over. So your first step is always drop down the first one. So we're going to bring down that 1. And then you multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add until you finish. So when I say multiply, negative 2 times 1 gets me negative 2. And when I say add, 0 plus negative 2 is negative 2. Multiply, negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. And add negative 7 plus 4 is negative 3. Multiply, negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. Add, you get 0. And that actually is your remainder. So how do you write this? Because this doesn't look like the answers we were getting before, right? Whatever your term was, we were x cubed, we're just going to drop it down 1 degree. So this is going to be a 1x squared minus 2, those are going to be my x's, minus 3, that's going to be my constant, and my remainder is 0. So I have no remainder on this one. So again, just whatever your degree was, drop it down, because again, you divided by an x. So that should drop down a degree. All right. The remainder theorem. So what the remainder theorem says is if you take a polynomial and divide it by x minus c, then the remainder is your function at c. So if you wanted to find f of negative 4, you're going to divide by x minus c. X minus negative becomes plus 4. So if you wanted to find out, and it'll be your remainder of that. So that's what the remainder theorem says. So let's try our synthetic division one more time. So we're going to use that negative 4. We're going to pull off our coefficients. So x cubed is 3, x squared is 4, x is negative 5, and my constant is 3. And we're going to use that. We're going to use that synthetic division. Drop it down, and then multiply, add, multiply, add. So negative 4 times 3 is negative 12, and add negative 12 plus 4 is negative 8. Multiply, negative 4 times negative 8 is 32. Add negative 32 minus 5 is 27. And multiply 4 times negative 20, or negative 4 times 27 is negative 108, and add negative 105. So the remainder is actually the function. So f of negative 4 would be negative 105. That's what your remainder theorem says. And that's f of negative 4. And the last one is our factor theorem. So this is your factor theorem. And we're going to go ahead and use it. We're going to put it into action. So this says that negative 1 is one of your zeros, which means it should be a factor. So in order for it to be a factor, you know it was x plus 1. Right? So we know one of our factors right now. We can actually use that to whittle this down. Right? This is too big to factor right now. We're going to whittle this down. So let's use our synthetic division. We got 15, 14, negative 3, and negative 2. Drop it down, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. And again, that's why you have no remainder. Remember to drop down that exponent. So we have 15x squared minus 1x minus 2. And now we can factor this out. We want a number that multiplies to negative 30, adds to negative 1. We got 6 and 5, and we want 6 to be negative. 15x goes on top. Oops, forgot my x. These are both divisible by 3, so you got negative 2 and you got 5x. These are both divisible by 5, you got 1 and 3x. And now we can factor. So this becomes 5x minus 2 and 3x plus 1. So we already knew x plus 1 was a factor to get negative 1 as a 0. Now we know 5x minus 2 is a factor and 3x plus 1. So you can actually use this. You can actually use this to factor. Okay, so if you have something that's really hard to factor, but you know one of the solutions, and now we can find all of our solutions. We know x equals negative 1. So 5x minus 2 can equal 0. X equals positive 2/5. All right, add 2's, divide by 5. Subtract 1, divide by 3, x equals negative 1/3. And those will be my 3 solutions. All right, that's it. Bye, guys.